Bullpen Cycle. We are on our way to the Daytona 200 Racers Memorial. They have an annual service there every year, a few days before the Daytona 200 Memorial. This year we lost Eddie Fisher. We also remember Ryan Varnes, although I don't think he ran the 200. Beautiful place for a memorial. Usually all the big names come out, so we'll see who we got. So of course I have to show you what parked next to me. So this is a first generation Buell. It's a Buell Thunderbolt. I guess that would be an S1. And okay, so we got a little Suzuki DR, so what? But first, check out the giant pack. And look, here's his Enduro roller and his entry ticket. That's pretty cool.
Thank you, Joanne Step, and thank you to her backup group of 200. At this time, I would like to introduce Christy Clanfoot and Al Charles.
Take pride in the fact that you're keeping this paint out there and now fixing on this spot here today.
Yeah, go ahead. It's nice that you're
Very much. On the dealer told me something good big retire.
Let's get the individual photos and then we will move on to the parade.
Started helping Ryan, and they're building the community. I mean, Ryan, one thing I want to say that is true that they couldn't pick any better. There are some who bring a light so great to the world that even after they're gone, the light remains.
This is sort of neat. The Daytona 200 winners in chronological order.
My wife's got
Oh, I didn't know John passed away. Wow, that was this year too. He was local. He's the guy I built my replica Grom Interceptor for.
So he started road racing himself in Phoenix, Arizona.
But think of some of the people we were remembering today at the Daytona 200, because I had a connection, small connection, with almost each one there. And so, I mean, I didn't know them very well, but I have stories about each of them. One is this bike. This was Eddie Fisher's bike. It's a Mark I Bultaco Ventrella. And let me tell you the story. Some of you have heard this, but I got this bike from a fellow who said he got it from Gary Fisher. Now, you know Gary, he's on any Sunday. He's pretty famous in his own right. Now, when I got this bike, the story was that Eddie gave it to Gary. Gary needed money, so eventually Gary sold it. Well, I thought that's cool. If it's Eddie Fisher's and Gary Fisher's old bike, I should try to meet up with them. So I found Eddie. Eddie was a fixture at the Ole swap meet, and I'm gonna miss him sitting there on the bench outside the convention hall. But anyway, I talked to Eddie, and Eddie said that Gary claimed Eddie gave it to Gary only after Gary sold it. So Eddie's version of the story is that Gary hawked Eddie's bike. I don't know which story is true, but one story is better than the other. Obviously they get along because Eddie signed it for me. So that's my remembrance of Eddie. But now if you look at this bike, I don't know if this is original paint or not because the pinstripes are stuck on. But I bought it because I took a flyer that the fairing was a factory Bultaco fairing. And it is. But it's not the race fairing, it's the road fairing. And look at these tiny clip-ons. So, yeah, that's taped too. So maybe it is original paint. I don't know. But it's a Mark I, 200 4-speed. And I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to leave it just like it is. This is one you don't restore. But that's not all. I also have a Ryan Varnes story. Well, not a Ryan Varnes story, but I knew Jimmy fairly well. And I remember watching Kevin. And my first memory of the Varnes family, Kevin was racing, I think it was with Lancaster Harley Davidson, and this was at the Springfield Mile, and I went with my friend Don West from the Cycle Shack. These are one of his shirts. So this was in the day where you could show them your AMA card and say, yeah, I'm with Kevin Varnes, and they'd let you in the infield. And I stood watching the race on the top of Westy's truck. Now, I seem to recall Kevin was pretty good at getting the hole shot, especially in the heats. But that's a mile-long track, and some of the other guys would catch him. I think Ricky Graham had a really good outing that day. And we remembered John Ashmead this year. And I built this bike in part as a tribute to John Ashmead. Now he was at the Daytona 200 a couple of years ago with Jenna Bovard, and I talked to him, and I wanted to get him to sign this bike, but let me tell you why. John Ashmead won Daytona by a large amount in 1989 as a privateer on a 3-year-old Honda Interceptor. That's quite a feat. I mean, think of it. Back then you had Yost Suzuki, you had the factory Honda teams, and here's this privateer on a 3-year-old bike that swept them away. And that was on the groundbreaking Honda Interceptor. But I will always remember John Ashmead winning the Daytona, and I'm sorry I didn't get to show him my little tribute bike. So what is this? This is a Honda Grom. I paid, I don't remember how much it was, but it was a lot of money to mix factory paint. We put on an aluminum swing arm, Ohlins, Made that little fairing. Had decals made up. Redid the seat, put a low pipe on it. It's got a power commander. I think it's about 11.5 horsepower. How do you like this? V4 Interceptor. This was an expensive project. I don't recommend doing it at home. I'm probably married to this bike now, but it's a lot of fun. I'm just disappointed I didn't get to share it with John Ashmead, because I really did build it with that race in mind. With all the Grom clones you see them built. I've seen a CRF one. I thought right away, gotta do the Interceptor with John Ashmead, and unfortunately he didn't get to see it. So it was a somber time at the Daytona 200, but I get to share some bikes and some memories with you.